Happy CitizenCon week, guys. So I was at the gym last night, got a chance to watch Around the Verse 3.9 and Reverse the Verse 2.9. All about radar and scanning. Ton of good information there and even more questions. So I'm putting this video together to kind of go through all the questions and comments that I had, some theories that kind of came out of these segments as well. Hopefully you guys can help me out with this. Right off the bat, for radar and scanning, they introduced the whole Gulf swing, and there's been a lot of kind of negative response to the Gulf swing power up charge up for the pulse scanner. And I don't necessarily mind it. However, there's probably some cool new things they could do with it. I was thinking, what if the scan pulse actually did like a block reveal of the ship, like in the center small portion of the console, like a little holographic image of whatever you're scanning, and it kind of block reveals, like block by block. And as you charge it up, more of the ship be revealed by these little block reveals. You obviously, just like the Gulf swing, you obviously can go too far and overheat, right? So as you approach that threshold, the revealing blocks, the blocks that are revealed, start getting orange, and then start getting are revealed in the color orange. Or maybe like instantly highlighted in orange, or highlighted in red if it's getting really close. Or if you're in that kind of random threshold where it could fail or it could not fail. Anyway, so the reveals are color based on how close you are to fail at the failure point. A failed overcharge scan would kind of melt away, the blocks would fall off the scanner or something like that. But if you had a successful scan, it would kind of push the image to the upper left or upper right hand corner of the UI. And there'll be a rollout, like a whole rollout of information, all the scanned information. And then some of the information could be pending, and we'll get to talk about that later, but some of the information could be pending based on whether those modules have like additional security that the scanner can't immediately penetrate. So some of the scan identifiers are pending. So I was thinking something kind of more detailed like that would be cool. They said it was the first pass, so it's the first pass. I would actually love to introduce an idea like that. I'm assuming I can submit ideas like that on the forums. I don't know if you have to participate for a certain amount of time before they kind of look at user feedback, but I just got to take a look at on the forums where they allowed feedback like that. Also, sorry for the voice, guys. I'm getting over a cold here, but I did get a new mic. And actually, another thought I just had on the block hologram ship reveal as you're scanning, like, so instead of like a block reveal for like electromagnetic, like infrared could be like the colors would fade in and they would start fading in orange and red if there was a failure rate or something. Then for the decibel scanning, there could be like, I'm trying to think of an example, like we've seen it in the past where there's like images are converted obviously to sound waves, but it almost looks like mixing levels going up and down, forming the model. Anyways, just, I don't know, I was just thinking something along the lines of that. So radar and scanning overall is going to be used. I like how they're kind of, the whole system is a singular system that's going to work across multiple careers. They mentioned combat or policing, smuggling, mining, exploration. All these areas are going to be touched by a singular radar / scanning mechanism. It's going to work the same throughout all of them, which I'm an absolutely big fan of. And also they mentioned in Reverse the Verse there could potentially be chips. Well, the example they gave was there's a chip that you could possibly have that speaks to a police database. And that alone brought up a really interesting gameplay possibility. Like, that's when you talk about differentiators and like standing out from the crowd, that's an example of something you can kind of differentiate with. Like as a bounty hunter, and if you're advertising of your website, or if you're advertising on social media and you're a bounty hunter, you could say like I'm PD certified, you know, I'm like police database certified or whatever. Meaning you have that chip, or you have some advanced version of that chip that gives you access to maybe not only like local police databases, but maybe like the like actual UE widespread like universe databases. I don't know. So like actually having like player created certifications for hardware components that you can kind of add in. That's a differentiator. That's something that can kind of separate. And by default, people will seek out my services will seek out my services more because I am certified, or I have this chip, and as a result, they will probably pay a higher premium. It's absolutely fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. Scanning in general, like they mentioned infrared, electromagnetic, as I mentioned before, the decibel or the audible level, or any kind of if your components make any sound, like that can be picked up by scanning. Cross sections are gonna matter. If your ship is like fat and thin or something, like you can turn it sideways, so you can have less of a signature. That's awesome. That opens up a lot of kind of like anti-scan gameplay. Someone that knows how to play the class and knows how to manipulate the ship and when to turn the ship to like produce the least signature possible. Like it's just there's just so much cool. There's just a lot of cool potential there. A few questions I had out of this. Can certain components mask? We have information on if certain components can mask signatures behind them. I know there are different signatures, but theoretically if something is heat shielded, right, and it's an engine, let's say, or whatever, I have heat shielding on the engine, and there's this other engine in the back, or whatever component in the back that's producing a lot of heat, and it's behind the heat shield. Will the system be smart enough to know that this is kind of shielded as well? Sound, I know, like maybe there could be some sort of sound could go around. Like if there's sound shielding on this component, sound could obviously go around. Well, sound doesn't travel in space, right? So I'm wondering how that works, actually. Might need to catch up on my science here. Anyway, so I'm wondering if the components can basically mask signatures. So the cross-sectioning, the 3D scanning, the cross-section scanning that's in 3D, so, the cross-section matters, and in combination with signature detection and all that good stuff, like think about, and he mentioned actually in Reverse the Verse, I believe, like hiding. It's totally going to be possible in the future to potentially hide in front of like a sun or something, or not even that, like maybe there's like something that's emitting high electromagnetic pulses and you can hide in there and just mask your signatures. So there's going to be a lot of like stationary points that are like popular for smugglers and bounty hunters and anyone trying to get away from being scanned, that are going to be good points for kind of cloaking your signatures. It was a really exciting update. It was really cool. Also, the active versus passive pinging. Are there any drawbacks to kind of messing in this stage? It's the golf swing mechanism, but are there any drawbacks right now to messing up the golf swing? I know they mentioned like stuff would go wild, so I guess maybe that is the downfall, right? So if you mess up your golf swing, depending on how bad you mess it up, like your system will overheat and you have to wait like 2 minutes for a cooldown. I mean, that's a pretty big penalty, which would add a reason to maybe not go for the strongest ping. Maybe you only need some basic shim for information, like make and model or something. You don't need to know what's on board. Again, emergent gameplay. There's a lot of cool real-time decisioning that's going into the system, which is kind of exciting. Also, the way Will was talking, it seems like our conversations previously about the Herald and other Inforunning Ships, all the previous conversations we had about those were warranted, and that they will be viable recon solutions for a well-rounded fleet. Sounded like they really intended the Inforunning, these ships that are capable of radar detection and scanning are going to be, they're looking for these ships to be kind of standardized within a fleet. So it's awesome to hear. I'm glad that our speculation kind of panned out there. In Reverse the Verse, they actually mentioned the segmentation, or the kind of separation of radar versus scanning, and how the player can harden specific components, say like a data hold, like one of the data containers. They can kind of harden that specifically from scanning versus hardening the whole ship. That's also I don't have enough good things to say about this. Like, literally it's gonna like create an instance where a ship might look less suspicious, right? I'm gonna scan your ship, and I might even totally bypass the fact that this one secondary, like in my scenario, let's just say there's an info drop down, and the fourth item on the list is still pending. It's still not able to be read, but I'm getting all the other information I want. So there's other factors that could go into why this is pending. So I don't really like care, so to speak. Like I just want to know what's on board, and I'm after something in particular, and they've hardened this other thing. But in the same flip side, you can actually harden stuff that decoy hardening as well, right? So you could actually, I could send a ship out ahead of time if I'm like a info runner, for instance. I could send a ship out ahead of time, have like 2 or 3 ships with different sub-hardened components, maybe, so like they draw attention. So any pirates out there, they would take the time, waste time scanning the ship. They would waste extra time seeing that subcomponent is hardened, and they would actually focus on that, think it's something valuable, and then multiply that by the 3 different decoy ships I have, and bam, you got yourself a nice layer of protection there. So that's really cool. Love it. And they also mentioned in the future there could be the potential for low res versus high res scanning. Again, that would be a welcome addition. So different levels, military potential to have military grade scanners versus kind of like commercial scanners that would be able, for instance, they would be able to pick out a ship against the sun. That's just going to add, man, how good is this? So Chris was also talking about the potentials for scanning in Squadron 42 as well. I'm kind of wondering, and I hope it's not, and this might be a little pessimistic of me, but I'm hoping it's not just like, they're not just going to use scanning for like search for cargo X type missions, you know? Or do you guys think we'll see some kind of advanced scanning usage type scenarios where maybe we're receiving unique signatures that we can, like, we have a unique signature that we're given, and we're able to lock onto that. Our scanner is kind of programmed to lock onto that during scanning on a particular mission, or maybe even it spans multiple missions. Anyway, so during scanning, you could do some kind of cool micro-targeting with maybe like a hack or like a localized weapon damage, something like that. I'm just thinking like a civilian ship, like you happen to scan a civilian transport passenger ship, right? And if you take out the whole ship, you obviously fail the mission or some sort of penalty. But if you can take out, like you see the spy, like you're able to see a person like in the cargo hold and among many other people, and another layer of element, there's maybe like a person in front of that person, so there's like a head sticking out or something. Like I'm wondering how fine, like how, I guess I'll just call it micro-targeting. I wonder how far they'll go with that. Anyway, so if you're able to, through whatever means, pinpoint accuracy, take out that one person, and I don't know how without damaging the ship, but maybe they'll have a mechanism or something to penetrate the walls without actually damaging. Anyway, I'm wondering if they're gonna kind of get into cool scenarios with that. Question: are there any mechanisms? Do we know of any mechanisms that kind of will mask your outgoing ping? Meaning, I'm scanning. I don't really want people to know that I'm scanning, or I'm scanning that ship over there, but that ship is literally like a bomber, a fighter that's going to kick my ass. So is there any kind of mechanism, like setting up a proxy to go through, maybe like any hardware that I could set up like X amount of kilometers that way, so I can ping off that ship and scan through that ship, and that ship would actually lock onto that, giving me an extra minute of escape time if that ship should come after me. I'm just wondering if there's any kind of system like that. That'd be kind of cool. Also, in Around the Verse, Herald Scan Stealers. That's my official name for it. Herald Scan Steals. You're going to hear about them. So this sounds like an absolute neat twist on the whole info running career. Scan stealing information as it comes in and selling it ahead of time. Like there's scanned information being sent to this, but you're somehow right there. You're able to steal that information, and then you're able to get that information to whatever endpoint before the ship that actually is going to use the information for its own financial purposes. You're able to kind of monetize that first. That's awesome. Like, just that's like a whole another level of info running that I didn't even consider. So on that, I'm wondering if there's anything about the Herald that gives it an advantage. And I know it has a big ass engine. It has kind of the boosters and everything. It gives it an advantage over other ships to get that information to the endpoint quicker. Meaning, will the Herald be a good enough ship, or will any ships, I guess, be better suited for scan stealing. I really feel like that's going to be one of my professions. That just sounds so cool and so simple. Like there's no maintenance. You know what I mean? I just sit there, steal the information, and take. It's going to be awesome. So in the balancing portion of the update, from what I gathered, they're proposing roughly having flight speeds. This is like wide, right? All ships. This is going to be like a universal change, right? This isn't just some test with some ships. I did notice that they said they weren't going to touch capital ships, but that's fine. Like those are big bulky things that kind of move at their own speeds. So, but everything else is going to be they're good about having it, right? And to compensate, they're going to be reducing the stopping times of a ship and emphasizing afterburner speed boosts for accelerations, right? That's basically the gist of the balance. I kind of dig it. Ever since the fall of the Space Orb 360, I'm in favor of anything that can let me make tighter turns. You guys remember the Space Orb 360? I used to kick so much ass in Quake, man. I could turn just like that. I dig the missile rack changes, but they are saying that the size-wise they're standarding, right? Just the look, the actual physical look of the missiles are going to be standardized, not the actual power capacities, right? So just they're looking to get the racks all the same size for standardizing, right? That was the takeaway from that. Also, I'm a big fan of not bringing down the blackout threshold. I think the dev nailed it when he said, I forgot which dev it was, but he said that it'll be a more playable flight model, and I think that agrees. Like I don't want to be blacking out every 2 seconds. Like let's make the game fun. They're making these balancing changes to kind of get into more close encounter dogfight scenarios, right? So I don't want to be blacking out because I'm accelerating too fast all the time. You nailed it. It's going to be more playable. Okay, so thank God they're doing lobby changes, because as a new guy coming into this game, like that was by far one of the most confusing areas. Like my friend still refuses to play Star Citizen because it just seems too segmented for him. So I love that they're kind of doing an overhaul in the lobby and the Moby Glass. The Moby Glass, since they kind of want to make it feel more like in-game, like an in-game menu system, could they possibly branch Moby Glass beyond the home screen widget? Like I know they have Moby Glass, that for the Moby Glass they're planning on these kind of general widgets, but I'm wondering if there's something more specific for careers that they can kind of tap into for the Moby Glass stuff. Like perhaps any nearby bounties that are available, or any kind of like in-person meetups or auctions for some underground black. Like I'm this is gonna sound weird, but like I have like access to like the dark net of Star Citizen, right? And that I get some periodic messages saying like information X about organization Y is going to be auctioned at this location. Anyway, is there like personalized stuff or career-based stuff that you could potentially filter into your Moby Glass? That'd be pretty sweet. Also, any thoughts? Do you guys have any thoughts on having the game load up right into the Moby Glass menu, like combining the two? Like your current persistent universe location is your lobbies, and you can launch into other apps like Squadron 42 from there. So, for instance, Squadron 42 could be like a video story of sorts that you're watching from your Moby Glass, like some sort of historical lesson that you're tapping into and learning, but you're actually playing the single player campaign. Is there any kind of thought or speculation around kind of combining all that into one cohesive unit, so to speak? Lastly, the Hoplite. I just had a couple questions on this, which you guys always do an amazing job of answering. So, barring my ignorance on the Vanguard, I think Paul mentioned that there are turrets on the top of the Hoplite. The Hoplite's going to be a variation of the Vanguard, or it was just based on the Vanguard design, I guess is my first question. That was a little unclear to me. And second, assuming that it's either or, I guess, like Paul mentioned that there's going to be a turret on the top, but can you place weapons on the bottom? It seems like it would be useful since it's a troop transport ship, I believe, the Hoplite, right? So, I mean, I keep imagining the scenario in Starship Troopers where they're trying to get down to the planet surface and like they're just getting their ass kicked because all the battery fire and the stuff from the planets are just kicking their asses. So it seems like it'd be useful for the Hoplite to have some bottom mounted turrets or something to kind of clear space on the planetary surfaces. I don't know, but at the same time, maybe they could armor, like add some more armor to the bottom as a trade-off. I don't know. I'm wondering if you guys have any more information on that. I could be a troop transport guy. Like, call me in to take the risk. I'll take all the insurance costs. I'm fully insured. I will get your troops to the surface of that planet in one piece, or your money back. Bam, done. Career made. All right, guys, that was a good update. So no, I know there's not going to be a 3.10, I should say. They're putting it on hold. I know there's a new lore video, which I'm kind of excited to see. But other than that, we're not gonna get another Around the Verse till after CitizenCon. But who needs it, right? Because we have CitizenCon. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be around on Sunday to do a live stream. But if not, I'll definitely be on top of it in the next day or two. So be on the lookout for that video. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you liked it, even if you didn't like it, subscribe, give me a like. And if you have any information about the questions I asked in this video, please leave a comment. I love the discussion. Let's all get pumped. CitizenCon is upon us.